Hello my dear children. So today our class discussion will be about National Malaria Prevention Program. In short we can call it as NMPP. So let us find out what it is. So I am your ma'am, Dr. Sudarshana Borah ma'am. So today we are going to discuss on another important topic about your social and preventive pharmacy. So you all know about what is malaria, isn't it? So malaria, it is basically a disease which is caused by a parasitic protozoa of the genus Plasmodium. Yes. Now, what is the factor which causes malaria? The factor is the female Anopheles mosquito. Of course, the healthy one will never infect you with the malaria. How does it occur? How does it take place? Do you know? It's very interesting actually. So you see, initially this female Anopheles mosquito, when it is healthy, and in that healthy state, if it bites a healthy host, it will not transmit any kind of parasitic disease. But if instead of a healthy host, if it bites an infected host is one who is already, the host is already infected with malaria, and that healthy Anopheles mosquito, female Anopheles mosquito, starts to bite that infected host, infected with malaria. So it will obviously try to transmit from the host. The malaria parasite will be transmitted into the thoracic cavity of the female Anopheles mosquito. Okay. So generally when it tries to insert its pulp through our skin, do we ever feel the sensation? Have you ever seen that whenever the mosquito has tried to suck the blood from us, the site of its bite, where it tries to attack that localized region, we never feel the sensation initially, but after it has bitten us, we feel the sensation. Why it is that? It is because this mosquito pulp contains two chemical reagents. Okay, two chemical reagents. One is an anesthetic reagent, another is an anticoagulant reagent. So the mosquito pulp, it contains, when it tries to release the saliva to bite, it first through its salivary your constituents, the anesthetic reagent is released, due to which at that localized area we do not feel the sensation and irritation. We do not feel. It sucks the blood easily, and when it sucks the blood, because of the presence of its anticoagulant reagent, the blood does not coagulate inside the pulp, and it can easily keep the blood stored or pass the blood from the pulp to the thoracic region, okay, thoracic cavity. And during that time, when it tries to pull out the pulp, with that time we feel the loss of sensation is over, and we can feel the sensation, and we start finding that irritation or biting irritation of the mosquito. So that is all about. And there, once it carries those parasites, if it is biting an infected host, what will it do? The moment it will try to bite the uninfected host, that time again by the same process it will release this time those parasites into in this process of trying to withdraw the blood, it will release those parasites into the blood of that healthy host. So initially you know that the asexual reproduction takes place, and then gradually the sexual reproduction will start. So generally when the asexual reproduction takes place, it starts at the host at the hepatocytic stage, where at the hepatocytes, that is at the liver cells, it tries to first invade, okay, the sporozoites, and these sporozoites will later, when it multiplies and tries to burst open its merozoites, these merozoites will then be released out, burst open from the hepatocytes into the red blood corpuscles, and to the red blood corpuscles it will start invading each and every RBC cell, where it will start completing its life cycle, and that is where its incubation period is completed to give us this signs and symptoms of malaria. Okay, so starting from the ring stage, which is the initial stage, till the stage of the trophozoites, schizones, and the gametocytes, which is the last stage. This entire life cycle is completed later on in each and every RBC cell. So that is about how this dangerous this malaria can be, and how can we prevent this malaria now. So therefore a program has been initiated which is known as the National Malaria Prevention Program, and this program was first launched in the year 1953, and when it was first launched in this year 1953, it had its three key objectives, three key activities with the goal of eradicating the malaria. But first, prevention was taken as the first initial step. So what were the three key activities that were chosen? First was the insecticidal residual spray that was done by spraying with DDT. Next one was monitoring and the surveillance of the cases that is occurring, whether it is an endemic situation or it has become epidemic. That was very essential to monitor, and also how the treatment is going on, if the treatment is working or people are getting resistant to the treatment of malaria. Okay, so later on this was again revised, and another program was started at the second phase in the year 1958, that is known as your National Malaria Eradication Program. That time, instead of these three key objectives or three key activities, I must say, some prime objectives were set. And what are these objectives? Let us see. First was to eliminate malaria fever deaths. Okay. Second was reduction of the malaria morbidity as much as possible. Third was to reduce the transmission of the malaria fever, transmission via the vector or by the host, and maintenance of the low malaria transmission rate at each state of the countries. Okay, so that was the objectives of the National Malaria Eradication Program. So under this National Malaria Control Program overall, where we engulf both the prevention as well as the eradication programs, there were certain strategies that were developed. And what are the strategies? Let us see. So that was their principal operational activities which was taken under this control program. Okay, and most important part was to spray with the insecticides, so that at the larvicides, so that at the larva stage this mosquito can be killed, and also stagnant water, storage of stagnant waters where they get a habitat of growing, so that also has to be abolished. Everything was taken care of, even the human dwelling places was sprayed with insecticides, the cattle sheds. Okay, so there was a team that was formed, malaria control team, that was organized, and they were directed to undergo this anti-malaria organization to monitor at each and every step the different incidences of malaria that was taking place in every control areas where it was endemic. So along with that, there was also anti-malarial drug that was made available for patients to every healthcare center where needed. Okay, so there was one urban malaria scheme, okay, that was taken in 28 states and union territories, and the key objectives of this was to control the malaria in the urban areas by reducing the vectors. What are these vectors? Just mosquitoes. Okay, then also next was to reduce the morbidity and mortality by early detection and treatment. Okay, so that was the prime importance. Okay, so generally it was thought that the target was around 131 towns and cities, which covered around 19 states and union territories. Later on, the malaria action program was taken. So that was the second part. Okay, after the it's malaria, the urban malaria scheme. So there were wherever there is the, after the endemic, if it has become an outbreak where epidemic occurrences has taken place of malaria, so there was important that an expert committee needs to be formulated where they can identify those epidemiological parameters, because if it is epidemic, that means those areas are high risk areas, and if they later on that becomes and a pandemic situation, so that is going to be very dangerous. So some very hardcore areas, problematic areas where people are reluctant to understand about the measures to take to eradicate this thing, especially tribal areas. Okay, and most importantly the epidemic prone areas. So there were the projects were taken, and they were considered as those particular project areas, and different types of insecticide resistant developed, where triple insecticide treatments were started, and also Along with this, parallelly in the urban areas also the same process was carried out. So there was also a strategy to revise this control program by these expert committees, where WHO has taken this initiative to go for the global policies for malaria, and the expert committee has to implement to it accordingly. Now again, there was an enhanced malaria control project. In this malaria control project, which was launched in the year 1997 with the World Bank, it was covering around 6 crore of tribal population over 8 states that engulfed around 100 districts and many other urban areas. So what are the milestones of this NMCP, National Malaria Control Program, that has been covered so far? The first was the National Malaria Control Program that was launched in 1953. Then later on came the National Malaria Eradication Program in the year 1958. Later on there was the Modified Plan of Operation in 1977. Further, there was the Multi-Purpose Worker Scheme, which is called as also MPWS 1979. Then later on it was the implementation of Malaria Control Project in 1997. Then Enhanced Malaria Control Project in 1995. National Anti-Malaria Program in the year 2000, and National Vector-Borne Disease Control Program in the year 2004. So that is about the National Malaria Control Programs, which is very important, and you go through the things. Also the life cycle of the entire malaria parasite. And of course, one more important thing, what are those parasites which causes the malaria? We have to discuss. So those parasites are, people generally consider 4 parasites, but I'll tell you there are 5 parasites, okay? 5. One is the Plasmodium falciparum, which is the most commonly prevailing and also the most dangerous. Next is the Plasmodium virex. Third is the Plasmodium malariae, okay? Fourth is the Plasmodium ovale, and fifth one is your Plasmodium knowlesi, which is a zoonotic species, and it has been found in the macaques, which is a zoonotic animal, just similar to the monkeys and apes, macaques, okay? So in macaques it is first found, okay? So with that we wind up our class today, and in the next class we are again going to discuss something more about the malaria, okay? Thank you.